What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to deal with third parties in Chapter 3 because this is something I get asked about a lot while I'm streaming. And by the way, my Twitch will be linked down in the description below if you want to watch me live or ask me any questions about Fortnite. I stream pretty much every day. But I'm often getting asked about like how to deal with third parties or just suggestions for what to do when you get third partied. And I always see people complaining about it, whether it be on Twitter or other streams. People are always complaining about getting third partied in Chapter 3. And there's a lot of reasons why Chapter 3 third parties are more problematic than usual. One of them is that the MK's range and accuracy is much higher than pretty much any other assault rifle we've had in Fortnite before. So regardless of how far away you are when you see people fighting, you can probably have an impact on their fight and just spray at them and potentially try to take one of the kills. The SpiderMan web slinger makes it really easy to get around the map quickly, and this makes it to where more and more people can travel to your fight and get there in time to third party you while you're still fighting somebody else. And the shotguns this season are really weak, and that makes fights drag on for longer periods of time than they would when in Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 with the original pump shotgun. It's harder to end fights now, so the longer you're fighting, the more likely it is you're going to get third-partied. So there's a lot of reasons why you're getting third-partied more in Chapter 3, but there are some ways that you can deal with third parties or at least minimize how much impact they have on your game. Nothing is going to be perfect because a lot of these things rely on the decisions of others, but there are things that you can do to put yourself in a better spot to hopefully get them to stop focusing you. If you guys do enjoy this video or find it helpful, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and comment down below if this video did help you deal with third parties in Chapter 3. The first thing we're going to talk about is that you need to be aware that you can get third partied. A lot of times I'll watch other players stream and they'll be fighting for a long period of time and be really exposed in a fight for a long period of time, and then they'll somehow be surprised that they're getting third partied. You need to be aware of your surroundings, especially in game more so than others. Like, you really want to be aware of where everybody is, but even just during the game, you need to be aware of where you can get third partied from or where you expect other players to be coming from. And this just comes down to map knowledge and like game knowledge, I guess. It's really hard to teach or learn this sort of thing. You just got to put the time in and learn. But I should have a clip playing here where in game, I am low ground with another player, and then there's a player height, and the player low ground has been spraying me, and I commit to the bloom fight versus this other player and win it like handedly versus him. He doesn't even hit me, I don't think. And then I tunnel to his loot and I hear the other person dropping. And then from that, I just start cranking because I know that guy was coming to third party us. So knowing that you're going to get third partied or kind of predicting the third party and playing off what they're going to do can give you a lot of like leg up on them because they think you're going to be distracted with other players. Should also have another clip here where I end up tunneling away because I know that I'm getting pinched. And then the other two players start fighting, and then I build up, I crank up and end up killing both of them. So you need to just be aware of your surroundings, be ready to get third partied, and do things to minimize how much of a threat you are to the other players. Go to the side, turtle for a bit, and then crank up and get height and then spray them both. Typically other people will start fighting. I know it doesn't happen sometimes and it's really annoying, but typically if you aren't doing anything in the fight and somebody's focusing you and there's another player there, they will end up getting fought. So it's not like you always need to just turtle, but if you have the opportunity to chill out for a second and get them to fight each other, this is huge. If you're high ground and the other two players are both underneath you and they're still both kind of focusing you for whatever reason, if you can grief them onto the same layer, which can be somewhat easy with these SMGs, they will likely end up fighting. So if you're height and you grief second height onto third height, they will probably fight, and then you can focus them and end up cleaning up the scraps of that fight. It's really easy to do so, especially if people run out of mats in game or are low on mats in game. One player will often be just all the way down. The metal walls also helps really well for this. If you're getting sprayed from one side and you put a metal wall down, it's not like you need a full box in metal, but if you put a few metal walls down, a lot of players will just assume you're not a threat anymore, even if you don't full box. Like I said, if you put 2 or 3 down, you still have a few ways that you can edit out of your box, but a lot of players don't know that. As soon as you put a few down, a lot of people think that you're just like full boxed or completely boxing yourself in metal, because that is how a lot of players end up playing. And then you can use the metal walls to your advantage. Not only does it help people, or does it help you because you're not getting sprayed anymore, a lot of times it just completely makes people ignore you, and then you can do something while they end up fighting the other players. I think one of the biggest problems with Chapter 3 is just the spray and how hard it is to heal. So you're definitely going to want to carry fast heals like minis, chug splashes, maybe even the spray, instead of things like big pots and medkits. I pretty much never carry big pots in Chapter 3. Even in comp, we usually just carry minis and chug splashes, just because it's very rare that you're going to be able to get a big pot off. 5 seconds is a really long time to be uncontested in Chapter 3 with how like much spray there is in this season. And the med kits is 10 seconds. So you're going to want to carry fast heals like minis, chug splashes. If you can get fish, those are also really nice. And another big thing about dealing with third parties is that you're going to want to end fights as fast as you can. I know this can be kind of scuffed with the shotguns like we talked about before. The shotguns aren't very good, but if you have the opportunity to kill somebody, you definitely want to take advantage of it. I see a lot of players healing when they could end up getting kills, and that is the safer play, but letting the fight go longer increases your odds of getting third partied. So if you and another player both shoot each other and you crack them for like 130 and they hit you for like 30 or so, let's say you're at 120 HP and they're at like 70, you probably want to end that fight. I know that you did take damage as well and you could pop a mini, but keeping pressure on the other player and just ending that fight as soon as possible, especially if you get them that weak, the Stinger SMG through builds can probably end up getting you the kill. But ending the fight when you can and just getting that player out of the game and getting yourself to a safe opportunity where you're less likely to get third partied is a huge benefit to you. So definitely take advantage of that and kill people when you can. I know a lot of players are wired just to heal whenever they take damage because it does make sense. But if you're ahead on damage massively in a fight, you want to press the advantage and kill that player. That way you're out of the fight and no longer in a chance where you're getting third partied. Another way that you can potentially help yourself getting third partied or get out of a situation where you're getting third partied is mobility. And this is kind of scuffed sometimes this season because of how accurate the MK7 is, but launch padding away from a fight and then coming back later once the other two players are fighting, or Spider-Manning away from a fight if you're able to get the Spider-Man web slinger, can be a huge advantage. You don't need to run away completely, but if you're out of the fight for a little bit, a lot of times people will just stop paying attention to you completely and start fighting the other person who's a more imminent threat. So you want to get the Spider-Man web slinger pretty much whenever you can, just as a given in Chapter 3. It's one of the most overpowered things that we've ever had in Fortnite. But this also really helps you deal with third parties, because if you're in a situation that you don't like, you can just Spider-Man away and maybe come back in a bit, or Spider-Man to a different angle and MK them, because we were talking about how good that is, and then you're the third party. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're getting third partied, you can use mobility to leave the fight, maybe heal a bit if you took damage, reset, reload your guns, whatever, and then you can come back and be the third party. And this is actually incredibly effective. It's kind of crazy how quickly people will forget about players that they were just fighting, but when there's a more imminent threat going on, a lot of players tunnel vision and deal with that, and then you can easily come back and be the third party and wipe the person out. Another thing you're going to want to do, this also goes to the spraying, is going to be use hard mats when you can. It doesn't seem like a huge difference, but if you're getting sprayed in wood, it's really easy for people to get tags on you. And if you switch to brick, or ideally metal if you have any, you can actually make it much harder for the other players to spray you. They still can spray you, and then a lot of times they can, but it's going to take them way more bullets to break your builds, which means they're going to be taking longer to do damage to you, and you're going to increase the chances of another player focusing them. That's like the biggest thing with dealing with third parties, is just getting people to deal with each other, or getting other people to focus each other in some way. And if you can buy yourself a little bit of time with harder mats like brick or metal, or the metal walls like we were talking about before, that could be a huge advantage. Not only are you wasting their time and potentially getting them focused, but you're probably going to be taking less damage as well in the long run, because you're going to be less likely to get tagged through builds. So those are my tips for dealing with third parties. Unfortunately, there's no set in stone way to deal with it, because a lot of people just tunnel vision on you and play like a psycho. But if you can end fights quickly, use mobility to like leave fights and potentially come back and third party it yourself, and buy yourself time with hard mats and metal walls, and you need to be a step ahead of your opponents and predict when you're getting third partied. Didn't talk about this before, but visual audio effects can actually be really helpful for this. If you guys do not use visual audio effects, it's a great setting. I personally don't use it because I'm pretty good at sound whoring already, because I played Call of Duty for a long time. But if you have a hard time hearing people in this game, definitely turn on the visual sound effects, and your awareness is going to go way up, and you're probably going to be able to predict and deal with third parties better. If you guys did enjoy this video, like I said before, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and my Twitch will be linked down in the description below if you want to watch me stream. Thanks for watching.